Hey everyone, this is Dexter Robinson in Entrepreneurship 630 at Western Carolina University. Today we have here for our SME interview, Amy Oraefo. So Amy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. I'm Amy Oraefo. I am originally from Raleigh, North Carolina. Attended UNC Chapel Hill undergrad and North Carolina Central for law school. Born and reared and raised in Raleigh. Unfortunately, had to leave to move to Atlanta. I opened a practice where I practice corporate entertainment, intellectual property, and business strategy law. Love Atlanta. It's a great place. Hate that I had to leave home, but love it. I often say it's one of the best decisions I made as an entrepreneur.
Very good, very good. So why did you choose to practice in those specific areas of law?
Okay, so very interesting tidbit I like to share with people. I grew up in the arts. I was a trained dancer for 16 years. So in some capacity, I always knew I had to be around the arts. It was a need for me. I did not pursue it professionally as a dancer, so I said I need to be around creative energy. So that was very intentional. And then went to an amazing school like Carolina, which breeds, creativity and innovation and all things we want. They often tell us, if you don't see it, create it.
Right.
And just always sticking that in the back of my head. Watching my parents grow up as entrepreneurs. My parents are originally from Nigeria, first generation American, and they had an African food shop. So as a kid, I was around there. So once again, just taking all these experiences, not ever knowing I would specifically open a law firm. Right. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so the practice areas came from tidbits in different chapters of my life. Right out of law school, I worked at SAS Institute as an in-house attorney. So I picked the corporate experience up from there, and I learned about intellectual property. And then as I'm taking these experiences, knowing it's something important, then when I started my own practice, I brought all my passions into my practice areas.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what were the factors that helped you determine that you should start your own business?
I'm very transparent. I like to tell, I moved to Atlanta in November 2011, and that's very important because we were in the thick of the recession. Mm-hmm. And I remember wanting to start a business, but not that soon. I was 2 years out of school, law school. Mm-hmm. A year and a half out of law school, and I was in-house, so ideally I wanted to move to be a corporate attorney, to phase into entertainment eventually, because I was able to get some, mentorship and different attorneys more seasoned than me. Mm-hmm. So really, to be honest with you, if you think about something too hard, I just took a leap of faith and realized that, this journey I thought was going to be 5 or 10 years down the road was expedited because I am very big on passion and pursuing my passion. And my passion was in the practice areas, I'm telling you, intellectual property, entertainment, and corporate. And I didn't see it. The jobs weren't available, so you create it.
Very entrepreneurial. So how did you establish credibility and land your first few clients?
It was a struggle. That's the part of entrepreneurship I want to talk to people. Not to scare anyone away. It can often take years. I'll speak in the legal practice to build what we call a book of business. It can take years because people have to trust you. And right. Attorneys, have various reputations depending on who you ask about their experiences with attorneys. So it's a lot of it. I often tell law students and students in general how many events. I was new to Atlanta. I had no professional contacts. I was out pounding the pavement networking 4 or 5 times a week. Lunches, breakfast, dinners, everywhere. Just so people in the community would start to get acclimated with my name, my face, to know that I'm serious. And, you keep on doing that, as I call it, seed planting. And eventually, by the grace of God, things will work out.
Yeah, definitely a leap of faith. So you mentioned a little bit intellectual property, and it's such a complex issue. Are there general areas you recommend small business owners research or explore prior to starting a business?
Absolutely. So I'll just mention the 4 types of intellectual property that most people, when they're speaking of, they think of. It is copyright, trademark, patents, and then the trade secrets. Right. Trade secrets, for example, I'll sort of work backwards, are what you see with Coca-Cola. Nobody knows how to make Coca-Cola. Right. That's one of their trade secrets. The sauce in a Big Mac. Right. That's one of their trade secrets. A patent will be if you wanted to create a desk, the function and procedure of how to create the desk. Mm-hmm. A little more in-depth process. Trademarks, what I do, the majority of, is if you want to, as Dexter Robinson, start a business or brand, or what's called a source identifier, to protect the services and products that you offer under that brand, you'll file a trademark. So as you can imagine, a lot of business owners want to protect services, products, names, right. And then the copyright is the actual content you are creating, that you're protecting, a manual, a book. So I have a lot of individuals reach out to me for copyrights, but even so, it's trademarks.
Very good. So now, do you help them with that entire process, or you just kind of tell them the direction that they should be going in to protect kind of their creation and things like that?
So it varies. I teach seminars about the small business owners, so sometimes it could just be for them to be exposed, because a lot of times I've been in various seminars, people are like, what? And by the end of the seminar, the point is in an hour for you to say, oh, that's what it is?
Right.
Because people didn't know what I just explained. They just
Exactly.
hear this term and they're like, what is it?
Right.
So it's not to talk over anyone's head, it's to let you know this is an asset in business. It's
Right.
intangible property. So once I'm telling them that, I can relate it to their business, depending on what they do, then they're like, oh, this is something I need and I didn't know I needed.
Right.
So just the education components first in a seminar. Then after that, sometimes, whether it's a referral through business or through the seminar, somebody would say, I didn't realize how much this is applicable to my business. I'm about to negotiate this agreement with someone. I'm about to pitch something. I need to protect my name and brand.
Gotcha.
And then it turns into filing it.
Very good. So business strategy is another one of the services that you offer. Can you elaborate more on topics that small business owners should be mindful of in the early phases of starting a business?
Absolutely. Sometimes people don't want to come and retain me initially as an attorney. They just really want to sit, and that's where you put the consulting hat. You're still an attorney, but you're sitting and you're telling them to set up a business entity. What does that look like? What is a limited liability company? What is an incorporation? I can speak to the legal implications. I'm not a CPA or accountant, so I can't speak to how that'll affect them and benefit them when they're filing taxes. But I could say, okay, how do you limit liability and how it will protect? Because the essence is always important to own a business and to start one, because you limit the liability of people attacking personal assets, God forbid, of a lawsuit.
Right.
So I tell them that's the first bubble. You want to keep your assets in a bubble, and by conducting business, we'll talk about which one may fit better for them. Limited liability partnership, sort of the agreements that go under there to control the documents. So they just want to sort of get an overview for an hour or 2 hours about what does it mean to run a business.
Right.
And then we can talk about various strategies depending on their practice area, industry, about how they can approach the first step, and if it's even time for them to start a business.
Very good.
Yeah.
So now, it seems like based off of what you said, some of it obviously you're taught, right? But how do you continue to, or what resources do you use to continue to show yourself and teach yourself ways that you can expand kind of that framework and knowledge about business strategies?
Awesome. It's learning, just always being a student. I learn from people more seasoned than me. I say the minute you stop learning, you stop growing. I mean, you just cease to exist to me, because you should always pick up an experience, whether it's from a child or an elder. So watching the people that have come before me, even watching my clients, I'm inspired by them. I'm blessed to work with innovators. I only work with entrepreneurs in some capacity, whether they're in the corporate space or in entertainment. They are creating something, and it's inspirational because I'm watching them, and now I'm retained to help them with their business matters, but they may be dealing with a subject matter that I'm so fascinated about, but I'm learning from them and how they practice and the skill they've honed and crafted. So,
So is it good practice to consult with an attorney prior to starting a business? And if so, are there certain types of attorneys that would be ideal?
Yes. So I often say it is, and it depends. If it's an idea and you just sort of, because a lot of times we may sit on ideas and concepts until you're ready to bring it to fruition. When it's time, yes, I do think if somebody's saying, okay, possibly what type of entity do I want to start? Yes, at that time, it'll be good to talk to an attorney. Even if you're going to file it yourself, it's fine, but then talking about if you file a limited liability company, needs something called an operating agreement, which controls how you run your business, the shares, the stocks, the duties and responsibility. At that time, I think it triggers an attorney, so it helps as well with the business owner sort of align and stay on one page. It's like I said, it's always a good investment, never a bad idea. But I know sometimes people hear attorneys and they think, cost. But I tell people, be proactive rather than reactive, because it's going to cost you a lot more money on the back end.
Absolutely.
In the event of an issue, if it wasn't, the initial investment wasn't made.
So even though you are an attorney, did you consult with other attorneys while establishing your own business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it was new to me. As I mentioned, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I never in my wildest dreams thought I was going to open a law practice. I thought I would do something else. So that was very new to me. And in law school, I must say, law school teaches you skill sets of how to spot issues, identify, but it does not teach you how to practice law, how to be an entrepreneur. You don't learn that until you come outside. So you're literally in the practice of law. So I'm learning to be an attorney and I'm learning to run a business. Two very different skill sets because I have to wear different hats in a day. When I'm doing business development with a client, that's entrepreneurship. It has nothing to do with me being an attorney. It's how to market to them, how to serve, how to sell myself, for lack of a better phrase, to get the services. Letting them know I can get the job done. So just knowing that you need to see examples. And I needed to see people more seasoned than me to shadow them, to watch them. I worked free for people to learn how to, in a law practice, to learn how, this is supposed to be done.
Very good, very good. So you mentioned actually wearing multiple hats. So in your bio, I read that you are also a board member. So as a board member of a company, what is your role and how do you contribute to the success of the business?
So I've been on the board I'm on for now 4 years, and I started out as a board member. And it was so new. It was my first board experience. I didn't really know what I was walking into. But I knew I wanted a new experience. As I mentioned, I'm always hungry to grow and learn. So it's just knowing that it is a business. People think of boards, oh, it's a nonprofit. No, but it is a full-out business. And now in the last 2 years, I have been the chair of a board. So that is another business effectively for me, because you are dealing with, in my capacity, 11 other people who are on the board, and you have to organize board meetings. We have an annual gala. You have vendors. There's so many things that go on just for that one event, let alone their scholarship, the funds we're raising. We have to make sure we're adhering to federal law because it's a 501c3. So it's a lot of roles and hats you're wearing. So people think nonprofits, and they often, let me say what I thought. I thought, oh, okay, well, we could do this, but it is just like running a business. So,
yeah. So I guess to ask a follow-up question to that. So when you think of boards, like a lot of people talk about it in an entrepreneurial sense that they have a board of directors in essence, but kind of what is the charge of the board that you're on from the nonprofit's perspective?
So the mission of the board is education, entrepreneurship, and reentry, the 3 pillars. So it's really for us to push those pillars. For example, I'll speak to a specific board. So that is our goal. The initiatives to create programs, to create infrastructure within the community for education, raising money for scholarships, entrepreneurship, for more people to have access to know that they can be entrepreneurs. And the reentry, that's a big component with folks who have, for various reasons, they've been incarcerated, they've been out of the workforce, or we just, like I said, came out of a recession. Reentry can mean, some people don't have jobs for a couple of years. So re-entering back into the workforce, things have changed. Right. So implementing programs and access to internships for individuals, so creating infrastructure programs like that. So that is really our task as board members, to help get out in the community and find financial resources, and to also be human resources to provide that.
Absolutely. So that actually leads into my next question when we're talking about financial and kind of human resources. So what are some ways that startups can build like social, human, and financial capital? And then of those 3 ways, which is most important to you as an entrepreneur?
Wow, that is an excellent question. I would say social and human capital, I will pair those 2 because it's networking. I tell people, this word that we hear too often is invaluable. You never stop networking. It never ceases. You can never know too many people. I say that to myself all the time because one never knows, where things will lead you, what doors will open, who knows who. That could be a client, a friend, or a business partner of yours. So it's social and human capital is built by, keeping yourself open, making yourself available, letting people know what you're doing, honing your craft and skill set. And eventually people, you'll go to people hear about you and will start coming to you, and, the rest is history. And the financial resources we know is sticking to your craft. I have to say, if you work hard enough at something, the money will come eventually. And then also being willing to be an asset to other people. A lot of people don't do that. Sometimes they're like, take, or ask. Make sure that you offer yourself up as a resource, and that's how you build social and human and financial capital. And to me, you asked the question what's the most important. I feel like if you have the human capital, all the other stuff will come.
I agree. So, speaking of networking and things like that and how important people are to you, who are some of your mentors and kind of who do you look towards for inspiration within your own entrepreneurial endeavors?
Absolutely. My biggest mentors are my parents, and my mother is retiring this week, and I have to mention that because I've watched her after 25 years of service. She's a tax auditor, so different professions. But I've watched her hone her craft to that point and pursue something she loves and is passionate about every day. So my greatest mentors are my parents first, because like I said, they came to this country, the classic immigrant story, with not much, but had 5 kids, and really told us if you pray and work hard enough, you can literally do anything you want. So there's not a decision I make that I'm not calling, especially my mom, on great and small.
Right.
And then as far as entrepreneurship and in my profession, I have seasoned attorneys who I've watched, and like I said, I've made my services available at any time, any day, to say, I just want to learn, to let them know I want to learn. Never, ever, ever, ever put your pride aside and exercise humility. I tell people at any stage, you could be 20 years into what you're doing. Be willing to learn. So just letting people know that if there's something, maybe there's something new or something I have not come across, to let them know, can we work on, we call it co-counsel in law. Can we work on it? Let them know they'll be compensated, I'll be compensated, but in that I'm able to watch what they do and I can learn it, so I'll forever know how to do it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then I guess, are there any kind of like resources or like subscriptions or certain, not necessarily celebrities, but known people within your industries that you practice, that you follow or that you watch or you kind of check in with on a regular basis?
I would say, I have to say, I'm in the entertainment industry, so they are creatives but the 3 people in the entertainment industry I've always watched are Oprah Winfrey, Diddy, Puff, whatever he's going by now, and Jay-Z. And I say all 3 of them because I'm a person who's very intrigued by people who reinvent themselves, and all 3 of them have always done that in their careers. You never know what's next. And they continue to build the empire. So I say, as far as celebrities and very public figures that people know, those are the 3 that I sort of always look. And tried and true, they always shock us in what they do, and they always keep on adding to the empire.
That's very true. So many entrepreneurs want to make an impact in some way, shape, or form, right? So how do we as entrepreneurs continue to expose ourselves to those types of issues on a global level?
Oh, absolutely. Just staying aware of what's going on in current events. Even I could do a better job of that because we get caught up in what's going on. But just knowing what they're, and just not making things so big. I think people oftentimes think, oh, this issue's bigger than me, what can I do? It starts with grab a child. Take a child that thinks they can never do what you're doing. Take them to lunch. Speak to them in the classroom. Start there. Start in your respective community, because you don't know if that child's going to walk out and who they're going to become. They could be the next president. They could be the next, CEO of a company. So start small and grow, and however you can make an impact, and then that will leave a lasting global impact eventually.
Very true. So we just want to thank you for your time and allow you to let us know, are there ways to connect with you or learn more about you, or just kind of any additional items that you'd like to share with us?
Yes. So, thank you. I enjoyed this time, and just I want to tell people, entrepreneurship, anyone can do it. Just stick to it, work hard, and pursue your passion. That's, don't do what you like, do what you love, and just pursue that. Your gift will make room for you, and be strategic, be intentional in all you do, and build a team of resources. Get an attorney, get a CPA or accountant. Very important when you're running a business. And then, depending on your respective industry, get the other necessary team players, but do it the right way. And as far as reaching out to me, you can reach out to me on my website. It's www.aop as in Paul, C as in cat, lawfirm.com, and you can email me at aoraefo@aopclawfirm.com. And LinkedIn, I'm Amy Oraefo. You can find me Amy Oraefo on everything. All
Very
social
good.
media.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.